Get everybody in. Guys, y'all can come on in.
Good evening. Here we are again. And again, thank you for being here. My name is Margie Broussard. I am the president of Lafayette chapter of the NAACP here in the city of Lafayette. I'll be sharing with you the purpose of this press conference. Several community organizations and citizens have banded together to get justice for 22-year-old Tevin Lewis, a young black male from Lafayette, Louisiana. The NAACP unit number 6060, which is here in Lafayette, Community Concerns Ministry of Imani Temple, which is where we are now, the State of Greater Black Lafayette, and the Community Council of Black Elders have joined together to support the mother, Ms. Granger, and family and friends of Tevin Lewis in this shooting case that involves Lafayette Police officer and a citizen of the city of Lafayette. Whenever a citizen is allegedly shot in the back by a law enforcement officer, we are required to come together to find out all the facts and to divulge them publicly and openly. We have called this press conference to demand transparency during this difficult time in our community. Given the national discussion and events regarding officer-involved shooting, we are concerned that the city parish administrator and police department have not communicated with the family and the community regarding this event. We hope this press conference will accelerate the dialogue and discussion regarding this case. We have invited city parish administration, police chief, elected officials, community leaders, as we work to ensure all the facts and tenets of this case is made public so the family and the community can be informed. We call for peace during this time, and our demands will be cited later in this press conference. Thank you. So the statement of facts will be presented to you by Brother Takuna Al-Shabazz. He is the president of the Community Council of Black Elders. He's also a member of Imani Temple, and he's also the education chairperson for the NAACP.
The alleged facts as we believe according to eyewitnesses, their testimony, and by video. 1, there are many law enforcement vehicles in the neighborhood at approximately 6:30 p.m. on Saturday, September 12th. The officers exit their cars with weapons drawn. The warrant that was issued for the suspect they were searching for an OWI, this individual, according to eyewitnesses, was immediately apprehended. Mr. Tevin, the 23-year-old black male, began to run away from the officers. Eyewitnesses testified that after a chase, the officer involved shot Mr. Lewis in the back. Mr. Lewis lay in the ditch for approximately 30 minutes or more after being shot. Mr. Lewis was later transported to a local hospital where he remains today. Later, about 10:30 p.m., Ms. Sheila Carter, a resident of the neighborhood, returned home and was approached by officers to review the video surveillance equipment that was attached to her home. Upon reviewing surveillance, Ms. Sheila Carter witnessed the first shot, at which time the officer immediately shut the video down. Ms. Carter feels she was harassed by the law enforcement officers in her residence. A warrant was ascertained to confiscate her video equipment, stating that it was an attempted first-degree murder on the police officer.
mother of Tevin, and we just wanted to share a few words.
My concern is that my child been in the hospital since Saturday. I haven't heard anything toward his condition. Nobody has called me, the doctors, nobody, no police department or anything. And that's my concern. I want to know what's going on with my child. I can't even visit him, which I feel that that is wrong. I'm his mother. And I just want justice to be served because it's wrong. I just want to see my child. Thank you.
And now we have a couple of words from a couple of the witnesses. Ms. Sheila, a longtime resident of that subdivision.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sheila Carter. I've been a resident of the Best subdivision, which is named Quiet Town, used to be Quiet Town, for 20 plus years. I've raised my 2 kids there, and in my life, I have never experienced anything like I experienced Saturday. I returned home at about 10:30 p.m. with my 2 grandchildren in tow, a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. They were tired and sleepy. I had been at the hospital all day. My daughter-in-law had surgery. I asked for permission to be let into my home. It took them about 30 minutes, but after they found out that it was my residence, they let me in. They stayed on my trail. It was about 3 of them. And, you know, I got into the house, and I was about to say, well, good night, thank y'all for letting me in. Then the officer stopped the door from closing and said, I need access to your home. So I said, what for? I wasn't here. What do you need? I need your video surveillance. I need to look at your video surveillance. So I cooperated, and I said, come on in. You can see it. Upon seeing the surveillance, which is rather disturbing to me, he shut it off when the first shot rang. So I told him I knew the young man, and it could have been my son, because I have a son around that age, and I felt really, really bad, you know, and I said, I thought you said this was for an attempted murder of a police officer. Okay. I saw the young man running for his life, and I saw a police officer chasing him with a drawn gun. And I can't sleep because of this right now, because it plays over and over in my mind. But then the gentleman got really hostile towards me and started threatening me and telling me, first he said, well, if I wouldn't let him in, I could get arrested for this. My house could have gotten frozen for 72 hours, and my grandchildren and I would have to find a place to go. And I mean, then he really got hostile and like, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. I'm going to obtain a search warrant, and I'm taking all of your equipment. And I mean, I thought they would have served him. I'm sorry. I can't speak anymore.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, next, I want to hear from Mr. Boutte. Yes, he is a witness.
Our witness. Hello. My name is Ronald Boutte, and I've been living over there about 15 years. And Saturday, I was crossing the street, but the officers had to wait till I crossed the street with another gentleman. And they wait where Tevin was. He shot out running, but he jumped the fence so fast when the cops did. When he got over the fence, you know, well, TJ Tevin, he's like, you know, he fast, and he does it. He ran fast the cops. And next thing you know, I see Tevin running across the street. So I was like, and First shot, he was still going. Then the next one, he was in the ditch, and the cops, they all jumped on him, put the knees in the back, and handcuffed him, made him sit up in the ditch for about, I say 30 odd minutes, past 30 minutes. And I told him I was a witness to that and all, they didn't even, you know, but he was running so fast, then he got a gun, you know, but I didn't see no gun, because I just left him. He didn't have no, you know, I didn't see no gun on him, you know. And with the first shot, he missed the first shot, but he wanted to, you know, shoot him. He wanted to hit him dead, because he could hit him in the leg or something, you know. But he had done got in his stance, and he just knocked Tevin in the ditch. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. We have one more witness that wants to share.
Okay, at first I wasn't going to say anything, but I did witness everything that happened. Because I wasn't going to say anything because I'm afraid, because it's dealing with a police officer, being honest. Let's just go ahead and say it. My name is Granger George. I live on Sunny. I've been staying there for like less than a year. Okay, the guy that got shot, I'm just finding out his name now. I didn't know his name before. But what I witnessed was, okay, what I witnessed was, well, before the cops running up on the guys on the street, I saw cop cars passing back and forth on the next street. I didn't know what was going on. I was outside talking with my neighbor. But then I witnessed a cop car pull up, and they just pull up on the guys that was outside. One of the officers that jumped out on the from the passenger side, I saw Tevin, which they call him TJ. I saw him jump the fence. The other officer jumped the fence behind him, and they was running through the backyard. And I heard the cops say, "Stop, drop the gun." When they came across, Tevin had already crossed the street. The officer was in the position to shoot him, but Tevin was running for his life. He wasn't running to say, "I'm gonna shoot back at the cop." He was trying to get away from the cop. And I'm guessing that the reason why he was running, because he was trying to get rid of the gun, because he didn't pose no kind of threat at all to the cop, from what I've seen. And the cop shot the first shot, he missed. Second shot hit Tevin in the back, and all I seen was him fall in the ditch, just fall flat down. And that's the only thing that's replaying in my mind right now. After that, it's like I can't say what else happened, but all I can see right now is that the cops shooting him and him falling down. And now it's really truly, every time I close my eyes at night, that's all I'm seeing. I can't sleep. I really can't. Oh.
My name is Tony Morvan. I live on Sunny Street, and I'm an eyewitness to the shooting. As I was standing there, I saw the police drive up, get out of their cars in full force, handguns drawn, everything. I did not see the young man cross the fence, but I heard it. It was kind of chaotic at that point. I heard the fence, the ringing of the fence. Then I saw them crossing the street, The young man was running for his life. He had no weapons in his hand. The stinker, no weapons in his hand. He was not posing a threat, and his back was square to the officer. The officer then pointed and shot. Missed the first shot, but the second shot hit him. And he went down. And after that, it was really chaotic. But I saw it. The young man had no weapons in his hand. None. He was not a threat. And then the rest is just a lot of other things happening. Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. So that's all I have to say.
He could have taken the
Okay, now a list of demands was by Pastor John Milton Esquire. Pastor Imani.
Again, thank everybody for coming. These were some of the demands, some of the thoughts that came out of a spontaneous meeting that occurred in this room last night as some of the community members came together seeking some relief, seeking somewhere to turn and some direction to go. And as we sat, a few of us joining our spirits with them, I want everybody to know too that I did make calls today to the mayor. I made calls and did talk to him about 30 minutes. I made calls and did talk to our chief administrative officer. We know that Councilman Shelvin did come by last night toward the end of the meeting, and he advised that the chief of police was aware of this. And we reached out because we wanted to invite anyone who can lend aid to this community and to the people who are suffering. And so this is where we are, and this is what we want to assert at this time. That the investigation into the shooting death of Mr. Lewis be conducted by an outside agency, whether it's the state police or some federal agency. We do not believe that the police department, Lafayette City Police Department, should be investigating itself, whether it has a shoot team or not.
Correct.
That the eyewitnesses, some of them who are here before you today, they were never questioned, although they were available for questioning, and they are willing to talk to the police as they talk right now. Yet they've not been questioned. That the witnesses that are available and willing to talk, that they be interviewed by an outside agency so as to avoid any forms of intimidation or otherwise contamination. We are asking that the Justice Department immediately investigate this matter into the intimidation of witnesses, because last night there were 4 or 5 young men who were laid on the ground face down, who were not charged with any charge or never advised that they were even considered as being charged with anything. And they advised us that they were placed in handcuffs, brought downtown to the city police, and while at the city police, they were shackled by one wrist to a table and restricted of their rights and therefore under arrest. And the only questions that were asked to them of them was, what did they see? If that is verifiable, which we have no reason to believe that these young men would not have come forward and testified to that, but there ought to be some records of use of incarceration, and there ought to be some proof of who these young men are. And we need to know, and the public needs to know, why would our police officers treat citizens who are not charged with a crime in that manner? We understand that they were detained for 6 or 7 hours and then released to go about their business. We also demand that the officer involved in the incident be identified publicly, and that the public be advised by our law enforcement officers whether or not, and if so, what action is being taken in that regard. We do, and we are aware that there is a public statement by the department on the city parish website that that officer was on leave without or with pay. The city parish, we're asking now again, our city leaders to step forward and address this issue, because this young man's life and right to live matters.
Yes.
And so we're asking that our city parish president, I understand, and we do want to extend to, and let you know, we understand that Chief Craft is unavailable and in some personal situation that why he's not available. And also, Mr. D. Stanley, our Chief Administrative Officer, has been contacted as well, and he expressed his concern, his deepest apology for not being here because he had 3 prior engagements. But we are asking that our city parish leaders ensure our people, our community, complete transparency in the conduct of this investigation. And we are asking this because we believe that with the testimony of some of the people that you've heard today, as well as many of the others who heard last night, that there should be no reason why an investigation should not be conducted upon those who are involved in this investigation. We're asking that the video that was obtained from Ms. Sheila Carter's house be immediately released to the public. Because our concern, although she did offer that they could download it, copy it on a jump drive, that critical piece of evidence should be made public, as it has been done in many other communities when such incidents like this have occurred. That the local police chief, the video is a video and it is what it is. That might bring calm and certainty to what happened in this situation, and that the people may begin to find some form of belief that they can rely upon law enforcement to protect them and serve them. We also demand that, based on the video, and if the video demonstrates clearly exactly what our witnesses just said, that Mr. Lewis did not threaten the officer in any way, that he be immediately released from police custody. That is, Mr. Lewis be immediately released. That his family be able to go to the hospital and visit him. That his family might be able to assist the doctors if he is incapacitated to make decisions regarding his medical condition. And again, even if not, that Ms. Granger be allowed to participate, because when she went to visit him, the few minutes she was able to see him, he was incapacitated. We also demand that if there is a determination that Mr. Lewis did not pose a threat to the officer and was indeed fleeing, and there be found no evidence of an attempted murder on a police officer as contained in an affidavit presented in a search warrant to search Ms. Carter's house. Which should be readily and easily available by the video. It shouldn't take a year or 2 years to investigate that. But that if he's running clearly from the officer with his back square to the officer, as our witness just testified to, that the officer involved in the shooting should be held accountable and immediately terminated. And release her video. And rather, you know, Ms. Carter has, a proprietary interest in this property, and it should be returned to her because it is what she uses to maintain protection of herself and her household. And so she is asking that will be returned immediately to her possession.
Okay, we'll take questions at this time. Anyone?
My name is Barbara Stevens, and I live at 207 Soulier Street. I was not at home when the incident happened. I am a sickly person, and my daughter comes to stay with me from time to time. And she had been staying with me for a couple of days because I hadn't been feeling good. But I left my grandson, my 2 grandkids, and her at the house because she works at night. So I called for my daughter to tell my grandson to be ready. I was going to take him to Bingo. He normally sits outside and waits for me on the porch because he knows that I'm not that far, that I'll be there. So I hadn't hung up the phone with her 2 seconds. She called my phone. Mama, somebody shot in our driveway. I panicked. I did not ask her at that particular moment, was my grandson okay? And I thought about it, driving down the highway, doing 85 miles an hour, trying to get to my residence. And when I got there, before I got there, I asked my daughter, I said, Frederica, you have to call and ask if Caden wasn't hit by this bullet. So my daughter immediately told my other daughter, no, he was fine. My grandson had went in the house to use the bathroom. Had he not been going to use the bathroom, who's to say where that stray bullet or that bullet not have went? I, upon arriving to my house, had to go through my backyard to get to the house. As I'm going to get in my front door, the officer, I forgot what her name was, they told it to me. You can't go in there. I said, ma'am, I live here. Why I can't go in my own house to check on my own children, my own grandchild? She said, you can't go in there. So I said, Erica, unlock me the back door. I got through the front door, and as I was approaching my driveway, the guy was still, they was just putting him on the stretcher as I returned home. And this was like 6:20 when I was called. And when I arrived home, it was 15 minutes later, and he was still in the ditch. And upon being there, my daughter said, Mama, there were at least 3 or 4 cops on the young man after he was down. And clearly, where my driveway sits, you can clearly see the officers on top of them. Had my daughter not been in the doorway, God knows what would have happened.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions from the media?
No, I have one question. I'm a mother. Why is they not letting this lady see? She can't go nowhere. Why is they not letting her see her child? I'm a mother. What I like to see my son and hold his hand regardless. Can anybody goes and march with her and demand that she see her child? She's a mother. I'm a mother. I want to know.
Right now, he's basically he's incarcerated. Even though he's in a medical facility, he's incarcerated.
Okay.
So he's still property in terms of speaking of the police department.
Okay, and if he was to die, would he be still the property of the police? He'd be the property of his mother.
Correct. And unfortunately, it would happen the same way if he was to die while locked up in the parish.
Okay.
They would call the mother or the next of kin and say, you can come.
She haven't seen her child since Saturday.
Right. So, but that's why she's not being allowed to see him, because he has to be processed into the jail before she can have any type of contact with her son.
So they bring fingerprint machines all over the world. Why in the world they can't bring it to the hospital?
Well, I can say one thing, that this is the process. It's been in place for
He was running for his life.
years.
He wasn't running to kill. He was running for his life. And I could see my child running for his life. But guess what? He was running. He was not shooting back. He was running. Let me see that child.
You were not a witness, right?
Yes, but I'm afraid, and I'm afraid for my daughter. And I'm afraid, I'm afraid for myself. We saw it all.
Okay.
Is there any update on Mr. Lewis's condition? Whether he's still critical, or is he still in the intensive care unit, to your knowledge?
No information.
No information was given to me since Saturday when he was in the emergency room.
Have you called the hospital to try to get information?
I tried.
And they refused to give it to you? So you have to go, are they telling you you have to go through the police department?
No, they never told me that. Nothing.
They wouldn't even let her go near her son with his head hanging down. Okay, what are you doing? Let him catch his last breath so he would not have nothing to say? He still can't say nothing right now. Nothing.
Media questions? Anyone media questions?
I have a question right here.
Yes.
There's obviously some confusion as to where police say he had a gun and these eyewitnesses say he didn't. To your knowledge, does your son own a weapon?
Not that I know of, sir. I really don't know. I won't know.
To be honest,
Ma'am. I don't think it matters.
It doesn't matter. No, it doesn't matter.
Given the circumstances that have been described by the witnesses, it doesn't really matter whether he had a gun or not under the circumstances in which he was shot. He was fleeing the officer. And many described that his hand was in motion and there was nothing in his hand. So even if he had a weapon somewhere on him that they may have claimed, at the point in which he was shot, he was not a threat to the officer. And there was no justification for that kind of reaction in terms of taking the opportunity to take a life.
He was running for his life.
Mr. Landor, in your experience as a Lafayette police officer, what has been your dealing if at all, with the officer-involved shooting team there? Have you noticed any inefficiencies with such a system or discrepancies?
Well, since when I retired, it actually wasn't put in place until after I retired. In my 21 years, the state police would actually investigate the shootings. Someone came up with the analogy of it's almost like, right now it's almost like you being stopped and written a ticket for speeding. And then when you go to court, the officer who wrote you the ticket is the judge. So it's the same, in a lot of people's mind, they're looking at it in the same way. It's just not, you can't specifically say that they're going to be 100% fair when it comes to investigating yourself.
Any more questions from the media? Yes, sir.
Has Chief Kraft made any attempt to address any of the previous demands we had the last time we were in here?
Who you asked?
Well, I can't answer. I know that there's been a team, we've had some conversation with Chief Kraft, but I personally have nothing formal with him. But there is a committee that's been formed, right, through the city police to address some of the issues regarding the rift. I mean, when you got community people feeling they're scared of the cops, like you see in here right today. Those issues are to be dealt with in this committee, which at a certain point, the NAACP representatives were removed, but we've seen him working things out to, again, put together a coalition as the national move is to create these coalitions throughout various communities, whereby the police and the African American community can try to come together to find some solution to the problem. I think first, before we find a solution, I don't think everybody even understands the complexities and the intensities of the problem. And that's the key thing right there. That many people in this community who don't live in a neighborhood like Sunnyside, all right, they have no clue about the feeling of being militarized. When a suppression unit that jumps out and guns all over the place, the expression that I had heard in this room last night was surprising and a little bit alarming to me. And I'm a lawyer for 28 years, I'm a former prosecutor. But yet for people to feel like they're in a militarized zone, these are the kinds of issues that must be dealt with, and we must deal with them as a community as a whole.
Attorney Milton, let me just ask, I know I've been on the committee, but I want to just clarify, the family, and correct me if I'm wrong, have not been contacted by the city administration or the police department. You've not been given any information.
We don't have that.
Right, so the family hasn't received the information. The community at large have not received any updates on this action, this officer-involved shooting. So those two things we know for sure, that they have not been very aggressive in letting the community know what are the details surrounding this officer-involved shooting. We are on 72 hours as of right now. 72 hours with no word to the family, no word to the community, and unfortunately, it is the status quo that maintains itself in Lafayette.
Given the circumstances that were shared at the meeting yesterday evening in this very room, one could easily interpret what was said and how it was said and the circumstances now that are being expressed and the details that are learned. You have a description of a domestic terrorist situation being conducted by the police officer.
Yes.
Yes.
There was terrorism that took place in the community.
Yes, it was.
You did not hear witnesses talk about the police officers trying to do their job and having a difficult time. You heard people, citizens, being oppressed and suppressed by the police officers, terrorized, being told that if your involvement is not positive, there could be consequences.
Yes.
This is a form of domestic terrorism that is being conducted by the police officers. So in reference to your question earlier, we did not hear anything significant from the police department. And we believe that the attitude and the mindset that was spoken of earlier in a previous event that we conducted here still is in place, and nothing much has been done.
was just sharing with Sister Martha, I think I skipped one of the demands, and that is, we're asking that the Justice Department, which don't, yeah, that the Justice Department investigate the intimidation of the witnesses as they were handcuffed and detained for several hours. I think I went on my own tangent on that. But the demand that goes with that is that the guys who were detained and handcuffed, that the Justice Department launch an investigation into those civil rights. Because you see, it's those kinds of things that causes someone to get so angry inside and so hurt inside when you hear some crazy thing happening out in the community or people shooting cops. This is the kind of reason, because when people feel violated, they want to violate somebody back. And so we believe that that is wrong, and it needs to be investigated, and we ask that outside agency do so.
Okay, Joe Dupree.
Yes, Madam President, Mr. Milton, Ms. Lewis, has there been any formal charges against Mr. Lewis posted by the police department that we know of at the present moment? Why is he being detained? Is there any charges against him?
So far, what I've read was the charges, once he's released, will be felon in possession of a firearm, concealed weapon, carrying a concealed weapon, and flight from an officer.
No attempted murder.
No attempted murder.
That was in the warrant.
That was in the
get
warrant.
this?
False warrant.
How did they get this?
Is that a warrant, ma'am?
Yes, it is.
Can I make one thing clear? Please understand there was an incident that followed what the incident that happened with Mr. Lewis down the street. And the neighbors will tell you that there was a residence down the street that was supposedly, well, it was reported as a drug house. The police department set up lighting and stayed out there until about 3 in the morning, am I correct? About 3 in the morning to get some subjects out the house. From what I understand, they did get these individuals out the house and several arrests were made